Hello and welcome to episode 121 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hi, kicking it with me today on the stream of dreams, the show of shows, and everything in between. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree. That is linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. I just named off a bunch of places that I'm so used to naming off but don't actually use anymore. So better yet, let's do this. If you want to find me, best place to probably find me is on Instagram and Threads. Those are two of the places that I use the most, but I am also on TikTok as well, YouTube for both YouTube Shorts and the video version of the podcast. I really got to get better at not saying Twitter and Blue Sky because I'm just not using a lot of Twitter or Blue Sky at the moment. I guess I could, but it just hasn't seemed to do much for me the way that Threads is. I'm not saying that Threads is like, oh my God, Instagram Threads is amazing. But wrestler MVP and author Stephen King have now joined Instagram Threads, and that's made me being on Instagram Threads a whole lot better. Is hearing what MVP has to say. I guess he's getting back into not back into. He's been wrestling, but MVP is wrestling Josh Barnett at a Bloodsport event that's happening sometime soon. I think it's like 2 years since MVP has last stepped into the ring. So I mean that's great. I have not loved the Bloodsport events, not all of them anyways. They're a little inconsistent in my humble opinion. But hey, MVP, shout out to MVP and shout out to Stephen King. Stephen King was responding to like those hot girl bot accounts for a little bit. Like it was just this hot girl bot account that was like, well, I've been sober for X amount of days, or I've been sober for X amount of hours, or I've been whatever. And I don't know if Stephen King knew that he was talking to a fake hot lady on the internet or not, but he seemed to respond somewhat earnestly about his sobriety, which is warms the cockles of my heart in every way, shape, or form. But I think he might now be aware that he was conversing with hot lady bots on the internet. And then also I believe Mark Hamill has now joined Instagram Threads. So really between MVP, Stephen King, and the voice of the Joker, I don't know what more you could possibly want from your social media experience. I mean, personally, I'm a little disappointed that Drill has not posted a lot on Instagram Threads, but I have his book. So somewhere I have the Mr. 1000, Mr. 3000. I forget what the name of that Drill book is. Drill, if you don't know, a very popular Twitter account, very funny, very popular Twitter account. And then he decided to just take his tweets, some of his best tweets, and put them in a book. And I have that book somewhere in this house. I've not read cover to cover. I just kind of open it up every now and then, and I look at a tweet and I'm like, yep, that's a tweet. And it even actually says like, it has a link that you can type into the internet for a direct link to that tweet if you wanted to read that tweet on your internet browsing device of choice. But you don't need an internet browsing device when you have his book, which I don't know if you can buy his book anymore. I don't know. He seems like he's gotten into like business and all sorts of stuff, and is trying to get paid to the best of his ability. I say best of luck to Drill, and obviously best of luck to MVP, Stephen King, and Mark Hamill, and everyone who is on the internet, because being on the internet is goddamn exhausting. I'm gonna talk about how exhausting being on the internet is in just a moment. But first, I want to cover kind of what we can expect from the show today. We're going to cover the S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 review roundup. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is out today with reviews that I might want to read a little bit more of before I commit to the game, at least right now. Maybe had a bit of a rough launch. Flight Simulator 2024 also had a rough launch with poor internet connectivity, people not being able to connect to the servers to play that game. I have not played Flight Simulator 2024. I don't think I'm going to, but it seemed to have a bit of a rough launch. Flight Simulator, if you forget, 2024 edition is the one that added all of those career modes and stuff to it, right? So in Flight Simulator, the last Flight Simulator, it was, hey, you can take off from all these real world airports and explore the world and do all this. But Flight Simulator 2024 seems to be like, hey, do you want to like do search and rescue? Do you want to do wildfire extinguishing? Do you want to do helicopter stuff? Do you want to do stunt planes? Do you want to do this? So it seems they've added like a lot more game to Flight Simulator. I'm sure there's a lot of other under the hood stuff that I am just not aware of, but Flight Simulator 2024 seems to have launched in a bit of a rough and rocky way, from what I can tell, at least. So I'm curious to see how that turns out, because I don't think people were able to connect to the game in some way, shape, or form. I've also just adjusted my compressor, and I'll talk about why I might sound different in just a moment. And then, yeah, like S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 came out, maybe a bit of a rough, rocky launch for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. We're going to talk reviews in a moment. We're also going to cover the Game Awards. We're going to cover the things that they've changed in regards to the nomination process. We're also going to talk about the nominees themselves. We also have a huge amount of news. Well, huge amount of news. I mean, once we get past the Shadow, the S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl reviews and the Game Awards, like we have some news, but it's not crazy news. You know, it's kind of like news is a bit of a slow, place right now, because, you know, a lot of people are probably gearing up for stuff like the Game Awards, which is only a few weeks away now. That is, I believe 3 weeks out from the Game Awards, December 12th. And also, you know, Black Friday, where they're trying to sell old video games, or, you know, the games that came out this year. They're not trying to sell new video games and things like that. But we're going to cover news. But first, I wanted to mention that I've been hard at work over the last week, producing some content over on YouTube, as well as TikToks and Instagram, regular old Instagram, where I've been working on some YouTube shorts. Last week, I dropped a couple of videos. One was on Dragon Age the Veilguard. One was on Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. I also talked about the Game of the Year nominees for the Game Awards. And then I, oh, wow, that really sucks, but oh, well, wow, that's a damn shame. That's, oh, well. And then I also talked about some of the changes to the rules. Now I wanted to take this moment to talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard. I gave a fairly benign opinion on Dragon Age the Veilguard, in which I said that I think that game is all right, and I've been enjoying it. It was a 1 minute, and I'm going to talk about this video. If you want to go check it out, you can on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, that sort of thing. Facebook, I believe. I give a fairly benign, kind of take, where I was like, hey, I enjoy the combat in Dragon Age the Veilguard. I think that game is all right. I like the characters. I think it's a gorgeous looking game. I maybe don't love the main plot and the main story of Dragon Age the Veilguard, but like I said, I think that game is all right. And then it turns out that I got like, you know, a significant amount in proportion, or in based on the amount of responses I get. A overwhelming dislike for the video, 7 likes out of 30 likes, which again, I'm a small potatoes streamer, or content creator. I get it, whatever. I do this for the love of the game. If I did it for money, I probably wouldn't be doing this. That being said, overwhelming amount of people disliked my a video on Dragon Age the Veilguard, again, which I gave a fairly benign opinion as far as I thought. And then I started to receive some comments. I received a comment from somebody claiming that I was a paid actor, that I was being paid to give this opinion on Dragon Age the Veilguard. But then I got a comment that really stuck in my craw. This is from 4 days ago. This comment has been hidden. This comment has been hidden. You cannot see it anymore because I didn't want people to see this bullshit. I'm just going to read this comment to you verbatim. I'm not going to name the person who named it, but I'm just going to read so this is the comment that somebody left on my Dragon Age the Veilguard video, and I'm going to read it to you verbatim. Enjoy the companions, ? Even Tash, ? Why aren't you talking about the trans propaganda in the game. So a couple of things. Dragon Age of Veilguard is a role-playing game where you can create a character and you can have your character be represented in a transgender, way, however you kind of want that. The game is very flexible in how you can present yourself, trans and whatnot. There's also a character in the game who is trans. I have not met that character in the game yet. I've not actually gotten far enough to meet that character. But I just wanted to take this time to say that, like, I have a suspicion that that the amount of dislikes that I received on that video and the comment that I received and some of the other negative comments that I've kind of gone ahead and just removed and whatever are really due to a significant amount of transphobia that Dragon Age the Veilguard has received. And I already made this statement. I already put this out on Instagram threads, and I don't want to read what I said on Instagram threads necessarily verbatim, but I'm going to pull this up here just because I want to get my, want to get to the heart of the matter, which is leave trans people in peace, man. I don't know how to say this any different. I'm a straight white man who does not experience homophobia or transphobia or any real amount of bigotry in my life. So it's very easy for me to just like look at this shit and ignore it or say, leave people alone. But I want to stress, like, leave trans people in peace for the love of God. Leave them in peace. Let them do their thing. Let them enjoy video games. Let them feel represented and accepted in video games. There's really no other way to describe this. Like, I could just shout from the rooftops, like, "Oh, fuck off." But like, I want to specify that, like, they just want to play, like, trans people just want to play video games and feel recognized in those games and see characters that represent themselves in that game. They just want to feel loved and accepted by the hobby that they have loved and tried to connect with and form communities with. And it's exhausting because, like, I can only imagine what larger content creators, trans content creators, any content creators from the the LGBTQIA plus community, like all of that stuff, the Two-Spirit people, like all of that. I can only imagine the shit that they receive on a regular basis just for trying to play fucking, I don't know, Far Cry 6 or any, I don't know, I'm just spitballing games, like any goddamn game out there where it's just like, oh, you have this agenda, oh, you have this propaganda, oh, you have this, oh, you have that. And it's just like, I can only imagine them wanting to say, fuck off, in a way that even I have not experienced quite yet. But like, I just want to say for the record, like, I think Dragon Age the Veilguard is all right. I'm not saying it's the greatest game ever made of 2024 or any of that shit, but there is no trans propaganda. There is none. It does not exist, right? Your bathroom arguments, your sports arguments, your whatever fucking arguments you have. I don't care. I'm not going to listen to them. I want you to just leave trans people in peace and really just fuck off. And if that means you not playing video games anymore because you don't feel like they represent your brand of hate and bigotry, that is fine. I would love it if you stopped playing video games because it would mean less bullshit like this appearing when talking about a game like Dragon Age the Veilguard of all things. Like, this is not some fucking, smorgasbord of representation in an overwhelming way. This is the option to play as a trans character if you want. This is the option to, converse with a companion. It's not like you have to use those companions if you don't want to. Like, when you start a mission in Dragon Age the Veilguard, it is you and two other companions, and you just pick them, and you can't roll with everybody, similar to like Baldur's Gate and shit like that. So I understand that the anti-woke crowd is nothing new. But I just felt the need to just kind of make my stance here. Like, I am like, there's nothing political. There should be nothing political about the existence of trans people and the existence of marginalized people based on their sexuality and gender identity and all of that stuff. So leave those people in peace, for fuck's sakes, and fuck off with these comments, because the only propaganda that is existing is this hate coming from this select group of people, and then injecting it in ways that don't actually feel valid, like arguing about Dragon Age the Veilguard or any of this other shit. Like, it's a fine game. Leave people the fuck alone, for the love of God. We're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna cool down for a moment, take a sip of coffee, cool down for a moment, and when we come back, we are gonna talk about the S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl reviews. We're also gonna talk about the Game Awards. Stick around. We will be right back. Welcome back to the podcast. I continue to be GnittWitt, and I continue to open up this link that has the Open Critic page for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is out now, getting reviews. Reviews are coming in. I imagine that maybe reviewing this has not been easy because it depends on how early people got the game. But not only that, but also when patches and updates and stuff like that started to come for the game. So I'm not too up to date on when these updates started rolling out for reviewers and things like that. But I do have the reviews, and let's go over them right now. Not amazing reviews for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. It is currently sitting at a 76 average out of 100, with 63% of all critics recommending the game. So, I'll say this, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is reviewing better than Farming Simulator 25 for whatever that's worth. If that's your thing. Let's go ahead, sort by this, and let's go take a look at some of the reviews. Listen, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're terrible. I'm just saying that they are in a spot. Game Rant, giving it a 9 out of 10, saying after spending 55 hours in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, I have no qualms recommending S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl to post-apocalyptic enthusiasts. PC Gamer, 83 out of 100, saying, just like in the old days, performance issues and bugs don't stop S.T.A.L.K.E.R's mad, wonderful heart from shining through. Games Radar Plus giving it a 3 out of 5, saying S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 in its current state has too much baggage to overlook. GameSpot, 8 out of 10, saying S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl is rough around the edges, but its propensity for creating emergent moments in a deadly and alluring world make this trip back to the zone a fraught and compelling experience. Rock, Paper, Shotguns did not give a score, but they said it's incredibly buggy, but persevere, and the survival FPS will reward you with intense shootouts and some wonderfully atmospheric free roaming. Might be a little rough around the edges from everything I'm seeing right now. It could be great. It seems like potentially the game that you might want to wait for review. Not wait for reviews, but wait for some updates. Potentially wait for some updates. I don't know like how quick they're going to be able to turn around some of these performance issues. To me, when I hear S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 has performance issues and it's buggy and it's fucked up, I'm not incredibly surprised. Like, to me, like, those games have been buggy and messed up forever since S.T.A.L.K.E.R has existed. And in some cases, communities have needed to get together to make mods and updates. Sometimes you need to wait for the developers to put out updates. But I think in a world where, I'm really torn on what games I need to keep focusing on, and I need to keep playing for things like Game of the Year consideration for my personal awards and all of that stuff. I'm left feeling like, I just don't know where I want to go with a game like S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. It seems like potentially a scenario where, if I have a bad time with it, am I going to go back to it? Right? Or do I wait a couple of weeks and then check it out later. But the problem is, if I wait a couple of weeks, I'm pretty sure that Indiana Jones game is out pretty damn soon. And then what am I going to do, right? What's it called? Golden Circle? The Golden Idol. Golden Circle. What the fuck's that game called? Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. When's that game out? The game's out on December 9th, dude. Like, the game is out in about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks time. So, okay, so hold on. So I don't think so it's a scenario where I either wait for, around the time of Indiana Jones to come out to see if that game is any good and then bust my ass to try to beat it. Or it's a potential scenario where it's like, well, I'm not going to play Indiana Jones. Instead, I'm going to play S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 for Game of the Year consideration. But that's also in a world in which I haven't finished Dragon Age of Veilguard yet. And I would like to potentially sink my teeth into that expansion pack for Diablo 4 that I haven't played yet. I also haven't played the fucking Alan Wake DLC. Like, I'm really, I get it. I've spent a lot of time watching movies and TV shows, and my mind has been in Twin Peaks for some time now. But I kind of need to get serious here personally when it comes to what games to play, especially for Game of the Year consideration. I think I'm probably done writing reviews for games this year. There's nothing like I feel strongly putting pen to paper to, at least at the moment. I would rather focus on videos and podcasts and other things. But that's where I'm kind of at, where I'm like, God damn, like I gotta get this shit going. I gotta get this shit going for me personally. And I think the nominations for the Game Awards are a great example of, my need to get my rear in gear, so to speak. So let's talk the Game Awards now. I don't want to go through, at least I don't think I want to go through all of the categories. We're going to skip a couple because personally, I don't give a shit about best esports team. I don't give a shit about best esports athlete. I don't give a shit about best esports game. And I don't care about content creator of the year because I am not on that content creator of the year list. So let's go through most anticipated game. There are 5 games nominated for most anticipated game. Your nominees are Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yote, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. Sorry, I'm like fucking with my cable here on my headphones while I do this. Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yote, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds for most anticipated game of the year. And we already know who's getting this. There's no one else is going to come close to winning most anticipated game of the year than Grand Theft Auto 6. So that is my prediction for that. Best adaptation. Best adaptation, excuse me. Best adaptation. So this is best adaptation is for movies and TV shows that have been adapted from video games. So your nominees are Arcane, Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon, Yakuza, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. Knuckles is the TV show based on Knuckles the Echidna, who is a Sonic the Hedgehog character. Like a Dragon is Yakuza. Tomb Raider, you know who Tomb Raider is. Arcane, if you're not familiar with Arcane, Arcane is the game based on, the Arcane is the show based on League of Legends, which is on Netflix. Knuckles, I think, on Paramount Plus. Fallout and Like a Dragon are on Prime. And Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft is on Netflix. So it's a scenario where like Knuckles is kind of like a live action with CG. Arcane is a completely animated show. Tomb Raider is a completely animated show. Like a Dragon is a live action show. And if I were to make my predictions, I know people have sworn up and down that Arcane is like the greatest thing of all time. It's like the greatest animated show to ever exist. I'm still going to go with Fallout. I think more people got into Fallout. I think also Fallout was a scenario where if you never played the game, you can fall in love with that entire universe, versus you fall in love with Arcane and then you find out you have to play League of Legends, and who the fuck wants to play League of Legends? So I think it's a toss up between Arcane and Fallout, but if I were to go with, because it's a 50-50 split on who's going to win it between, because no one's going to give it fucking Knuckles, fuck off Knuckles. But when it comes to best adaptation, it's very clearly a toss up between Arcane and Fallout, but I would like to see Fallout win it. So that is my prediction. Best multiplayer, we got Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. That is going to go to Helldivers 2. There is no doubt about it. That is my prediction. I don't care so much about being wrong or right. I just want to cover all of the nominees, and if something comes up that I want to talk about, we will do that. I think Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is a great game. I have enjoyed my time with it. I've not always loved the competitive multiplayer in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, but like Helldivers 2, the reason for the season is for that multiplayer cooperatively working with your teammates to shoot giant alien bugs. So I think there's no doubt about it that Helldivers 2 will win best multiplayer. Best sports/racing game, we have F1 24, EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K25, Top Spin 2K25, and WWE 2K24. If I were to predict, I would give it to F1 24, but I don't know a damn thing about these dang sports games. Let's talk best sim/strategy game. This is a best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. Your nominees are Age of Mythology Retold, that is the remake of Age of Mythology, Frostpunk 2, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord. It's a tough one. I will give it to... People seem pretty happy with Manor Lords, despite its slow updates, which has been intentional. So I will give it to Manor Lords, but I have not played almost any of these games, so I'm not an expert on sim/strategy. Best family. This is for the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. You will notice a theme with this category. Your nominees are Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire. 3 of those games are Nintendo games. Though, if I were a betting man, I would bet that Astrobot wins for best family. Next up, we have, excuse me here while I open this up, best fighting game. It's funny to see Multiverses on this list, but Multiverses is here nonetheless. Your nominees are Multiverses, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom Collection Arcade Classics, which, if you remember, that is the collection of old Capcom games. So that's like Marvel vs. Capcom and X-Men and versus Street Fighter and Marvel versus Street Fighter, all that stuff. And then Tekken 8. If I had to guess, Tekken 8 would be the winner, though I could also very easily see Marvel vs. Capcom winning as well. Multiverses ain't going to win. I'll tell you that right now. Multiverses is deader than Elvis from all reports, and I just don't see that game winning. I should mention that there is a judicial body that votes and nominates these games, but you can vote for your favorite games. You just have to sign up over at thegameawards.com if you want to sign up for the site and then vote. I'm not voting. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I'm not part of the judicial body or judges or anything like that. I'm just a man with a podcast who occasionally gets annoying comments in his videos, and I'm predicting that Tekken 8 will win best fighting game. Best RPG. This is for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. Your nominees are Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. Now, one of the things that has changed about the way that nominations work is now the Game Awards are just open and ready to go. So what that means is early access games can be nominated for any and all categories, as well as DLC expansions, remakes, and remasters of games can also be nominated for any and all categories, which is why you see stuff like the Capcom Arcade Fighting Collection and Shadows of the Erdtree being nominated, because Shadow of the Erdtree is not a standalone game. You have to own Elden Ring to play it, and you have to play a significant amount of Elden Ring to get to Shadow of the Erdtree anyways, but it can now be nominated in these different categories. If I were to guess, I don't know if Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree would win Best RPG. I would go to Metaphor ReFantazio. That's my prediction anyways, but we'll find out. This is for Best Action/Adventure Games. This is for the Best Action Adventure Game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Nominees are Astro Bot, The Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I would give it to Astro Bot, or I could see it going to Prince of Persia, but I would predict Astro Bot. Now, this is for Best Action Game. This is for the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat. Your nominees are Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. Remember, these are just my predictions on who's going to win. This is not who I necessarily want to win. And in my prediction, I will say that Black Myth Wukong is probably going to win Best Action Game. Best VR/AR game, we'll skip. Best mobile game, that nominees are AFK Journey, Balatro, Pokemon, the trading card game Pocket, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero. I got a friend of mine who texted me the other day saying, GnittWitt, I bought Balatro for mobile and I cannot stop playing it. I got a manager at work who's like, I've been playing a lot of Balatro. I've played a lot of Balatro on mobile, and I think that Balatro is going to win Best Mobile Game. Now we're getting into it. Best Debut Indie Game. This is for the best debut game created by an independent studio. Nominees are Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. I'm going to predict that Balatro wins for Best Debut Indie Game. For Best Independent Game, your nominees are Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50. I could very easily see UFO 50 winning this, but I think Balatro will win Best Independent Game as well. Now, these categories are a little confusing, so I'm just going to read the description to you. This is for Best Community Support. This is for recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity, and game updates and patches. So it's not just about, hey, we continue to put out content for this game. It's also about how the community has responded to the game as well. Your nominees are Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. I would say it's a toss-up between No Man's Sky and Baldur's Gate, though I wouldn't be surprised if Baldur's Gate was recognized in order to give them a proper opportunity to give a speech, unlike last year. So my prediction is Baldur's Gate 3 wins Best Community Support. Now, this is for Best Ongoing. This is awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Your nominees are Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2. Listen, I think Diablo 4 is a great game, and it's a better game now than it's ever been. But if I were to make a prediction, people seem to really like the final shape, and I could see Destiny 2 winning Best Ongoing. You know what? I had to stop myself for a moment. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just, because like everybody knows that Destiny 2 is kind of dead now that the final shape came out. So let me think about this. I would like to see Diablo 4 win it. I will nominate Final Fantasy 14. I'm best ongoing game, Final Fantasy 14. That's my prediction. All right, here we go. This is the Games for Impact Award. This is for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. So another way to say this is the best woke game of the year. This is the best woke game of the year. Your nominees for Games for Impact, which like I'm not like picking on woke games. Like I wouldn't have said everything I said about people being dicks about trans people in the comment section of my videos if I didn't think like this stuff wasn't worth talking about. But just in case you were wondering, the Game Awards wants to award games that have pro-social meaning or messages in it. Your nominees are Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzera Zao. I really should play Indica. Indica sounds like a fucking wild game. And people seem to have nice things to say about Life is Strange Double Exposure, but I'm going to give it to Senua Saga Hellblade 2. I think they continue to talk about mental health and psychosis and stuff in a important, way. And you don't see a lot of like big budget games like, talk about mental health in that way. So for Games for Impact, I'm going to give it to my prediction to Senua Saga Hellblade 2. All right, next game is Innovation in Accessibility. This is for recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. So whether that is, accessibility for those that are hard of hearing, hard of vision, motor controls, and everything else in between. This is for games that really are trying to make more games more accessible to everybody. Your nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age The Veilguard, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, and Star Wars Outlaws. I am really not at liberty to speak to how accessible each and every one of these games are. So I really couldn't tell you. However, I will give it to my nominee to Dragon Age The Veilguard. All right. Best Performance. This is awarded to an individual for voice acting, so for voiceover acting, motion, and or performance capture. Now, if you ask me, it'd be kind of cool if they were able to do Best Actor, Best Actress. Just because I think there are a lot of great performances that should be recognized. And I would like to see more voice actors and more actors in general and actresses in general recognized. Having one category, like I'm not saying you need to do like Best Supporting and Best Main or whatever, but maybe you could do a second performance category because you just don't get a lot of this in general from everything that I've seen. But here we are. Your nominees for Best Performance are Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hannah Tell for Life is Strange Double Exposure, Humberly Gonzalez for Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts for Silent Hill 2, and Melina Jergens for Senua Saga Hellblade 2. And I will predict that Melina Jergens wins for Senua Saga Hellblade 2. I apologize if I butchered anyone's names in this process. Maybe I should go back and play Hellblade 2. Anyways, Best Audio Design, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. Nominees are Astrobot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Senua Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill. When I think about, how they get the voices in your head and all of that stuff in Hellblade 2, like it is very striking, even if it can be a little overwhelming sometimes. And my prediction will be Senua Saga Hellblade 2 is going to win Best Audio Design. This is Best Score and Music. This is for outstanding music, inclusive of score, original, and or licensed soundtracks. So you can have a banger collection of pre-recorded music or already recorded music or original music. Your nominees are Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. If I were to predict, I'm going to say that Metaphor ReFantazio wins for best music. I also think that that game probably has the best music that I've heard in a video game ever. That like chanting and it just the music is burned into my brain and it's amazing. Best art direction. This is for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Your nominees are Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Neva, N-E-V-A. This is a tough one. People really like how Black Myth Wukong looks. People love the, art style of Astrobot. I will give it to Neva. I'm going to mispronounce it every time. Neva. That's my prediction. Neva wins best art direction. This is for best narrative. This is for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. Your nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. This is a tough one, man, because I've played like almost one of these games. Oh God, this is just a toss-up, man. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. That's my prediction. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. This is for best game direction. This is awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. 6 nominees here. Your nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. My prediction for best game direction is going to go to Balatro. It's a tough one. I think Elden Ring could really win this as well. Black Myth probably has a decent chance, but I'm going to predict that Balatro wins best game direction. And finally, game of the year. Your nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. And I'm going to predict that Balatro wins game of the year. Those are all the nominees. Those are all the categories that matter anyways. And that's my humble take on all of it. And again, a reminder, if it looks a little weird this year, that's because that remakes, remasters, DLCs, and expansions can be nominated as well. And basically the idea is if the game was available in the year 2024 and it was good enough, does it qualify? That seems to be the process that the Game Awards are going for this year. And we'll see how that turns out December 12th. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Stick around. We ain't going anywhere. Welcome back to the podcast. I am still GnittWitt, and we are still here talking games. Let's talk news. Biggest news headline, not counting, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 and the Game Awards, is that Sony is reportedly in talks to acquire the owner of Fromsoftware, which is a company called Kadokawa. So, Kadokawa is the parent company of Fromsoftware. Fromsoftware, as you may know, the developers of such games as Bloodborne, Dragon Age, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Elden Ring. I know, crazy, right? So, here's what we need to know. I'm getting this news story from Video Games Chronicles. As always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles. I mean, I think that goes just without saying, but I will keep saying it, considering how much of their sources I cite. So they're picking this up. Video Games Chronicles is picking this up from Reuters. Reuters is citing 2 sources familiar with the situation and reports that talks between Sony and Kadokawa are ongoing. It says that the negotiations, and that if the negotiations should prove successful, a deal could be made in the coming weeks. Excuse me. Now, Sony declined to comment, while Kadokawa said it couldn't comment, which is always how these business deals go. But for context, Kadokawa Corporation is a Japanese media conglomerate, which owns a number of companies specializing in book and manga publishing, film production, DVD sales, and cross media. Of greater interest to video game enthusiasts, however, is that Kadokawa also owns a majority share in Fromsoftware, the studio behind Elden Ring and Sekiro and a number of others. Sony would own Fromsoftware should this deal go through. Kadokawa also owns Dwango, a Japanese telecoms and media company, which also owns the developer Spike Chunsoft, who recently released Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Earlier this year, it also bought Acquire, the Tokyo studio known in recent years for Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, and a Mario and Luigi brothership. So that'll probably happen. I don't see why it wouldn't. It'll probably happen. And then Sony will own Fromsoftware. I wonder if Sony would make Fromsoftware games exclusive to PlayStation and PC going forward. But I feel like, and I know people still get hung up on console exclusives and all of this shit, but like, we're at a point now where AAA gaming cannot afford to be on, an exclusive amount of consoles. Like, AAA games need to be damn near everywhere, right? That's why, we didn't talk about this on the podcast, and we're not, but like, really going to talk about it. But Microsoft has recently done a ad campaign for Xbox where they're telling people what is and isn't an Xbox, including devices that are not an Xbox console. So like, there's a picture of a phone. It's like, here's an Android, iPhone, whatever, and it's like, this is an Xbox. And it shows a picture of a TV, and it's like, this is an Xbox. It shows your laptop, your iPad, your whatever. It's like, this is an Xbox. And then it shows a microwave, and you're like, well, this is not an Xbox. But like, they're like, hey man, do you want to play Indiana Jones and you don't have an Xbox? Fuck it. We don't care, man. Get it on a PC. Stream it on your phone, on your Samsung TV. We don't give a fuck where you play our Xbox games, as long as you are engaging in the Xbox services and playing the games wherever you may be playing games, including on non-traditional gaming devices like a TV that's streaming the games. So I don't know if Sony could even afford to make the Fromsoftware games exclusive that they wanted to. It will remain to be seen, and we'll have to wait to find out if this deal goes through. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 is coming along. The plot is now complete, and the game is entering full production. The director of Final Fantasy VII's third and final part has started offering some hints on what you can expect from the game. Here's what we know. Speaking at G-Con 2024 in Korea, while the pair of developers Naoki Hamaguchi and producer Yoshinori Kitatse wouldn't be drawn on further details about the game's plot, they did mention that the work on the game's plot has been completed and that the team is now focused on the game itself, as first reported by 4Gamer. Kitatse also said that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth provided a vast map, but in the third game, the Highwind airship will appear, so we need to let you experience the world from a higher perspective. We won't cheat with the airship system, but challenge it head on so that players can freely roam around the map. So here's the thing. In Final Fantasy VII, there is an overworld that you can explore, an open world that you can explore in the original game. And at some point, so you start the game and you're running, to and from the towns in the world by foot. You can eventually get a chocobo that you can ride, and then you eventually get the Highwind airship, and that allows you to like zoom around all over the place. So in the third game, they're going to give you that open world in the form of the airship. But I don't know if the open world will be as big as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, if it'll be smaller, if they're going to combine the worlds of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, and I don't know. I also haven't played Rebirth yet. I'm very excited to play Rebirth, but I'm still waiting for it to come to PC. So we'll see how that goes. But for context, Final Fantasy VII Remake originally came out in 2020, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out in 2024. So we're probably still looking at a few years before that game comes out anyways. However, Yamaguchi has already said that he is confident the third part will be one of the greatest video games ever made. So, we'll see about that when that game eventually comes out. What else we got? Control 2 is said to be an action RPG as reported by Remedy. Control was more of an action adventure game. You know, you're solving puzzles, you're opening doors, you're unlocking keys, you're shooting stuff, you're using your powers and abilities to fight enemies. So I really don't know what they mean when they say action RPG. Are you going to be leveling up? Are you going to, I don't know. I don't know what that means. They shared no further details. They didn't say anything. This is also part of a couple of things that Remedy was talking about. They said the Control Ultimate Edition will be coming to Mac on February 12th, and that Alan Wake 2 has sold 1.8 million copies. And then also that Alan Wake 2's second DLC, The Lake House, appears to directly tease the next game from Remedy. And as a reminder, Control 2 is currently in development. They also recently announced their spin-off game set in the Control universe, which is FBC Firebreak, the multiplayer first-person shooter. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is getting a 60 FPS update for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. 4K resolution is also coming to Assassin's Creed Syndicate on some current gen consoles. So if you've been waiting to play Assassin's Creed Syndicate on those platforms, good news. You'll be able to do that in the best way possible. So if you're looking to play Assassin's Creed Syndicate, you can do that. Other older series will also be receiving a 60 FPS update, or at least have done so already, which is Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So I'll be curious to see how that shapes out for those that are getting Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is the London one. It's kind of like that Gangs of London, game. And then as a reminder, Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming out February 14th, just in time for Valentine's Day. Hitman World of Assassination for PlayStation VR 2 has been delayed. It is now coming out March 2025. That is March 27th, 2025. I remember that game looking all right, but I don't own a VR. So listen, these are rapid fire news stories. Okay, man, I'm trying to get through this to the best of my ability, because we haven't even talked about the games that I've been playing. Final Fantasy 14 Mobile has been announced. That is coming from the people that made PUBG Mobile. It is not going to be a one-to-one retranslation of Final Fantasy 14. This game will launch with 9 of the game's main jobs, and it is expected that the remaining jobs will be added eventually, but it is unknown how much of the game's original content will be included in the mobile version. That is all we currently know about that, but it has been announced and there's a trailer for it as well. All right, let's talk about the games that I've been playing. I have been spending way too much time watching movies and TV shows. This is a terrible lifestyle to live if I'm going to be talking about video games on a video game podcast, but I've been watching a lot of Twin Peaks. That's what I've been doing. So if you want to talk to me about Special Agent Dale Cooper and coffee, I'm all ears. But I have not actually been playing that many video games. This is going to be the week that I get my rear in gear and I start playing some serious video games. So after this, I'm going to probably dive into, despite my better judgment, after this podcast, I'm probably going to dive right into Stalker 2 and check out that game, see how it is. But really, I really want to get my rear in gear, as I've said many, many times on this very podcast, and get back to Dragon Age the Veilguard. I really want to get into that and see how that is. I would also like to maybe clean this this desk that I'm sitting at. This desk is a goddamn mess. There's shit all over the place on this desk. And the reason I want to clean this up is because I have been testing out a new audio interface. So it is an interface where I plug my microphone into the box, and then that interface box plugs into the computer, which is probably why I might sound a little different as I've been testing out the UA Volt 2. I rented this Volt 2 interface because my M Audio M-Track Solo interface is a piece of shit, and it is giving me feedback and static and noise, and it sucks and it's awful, and I have to replace it with something else. And I am looking to do a significant upgrade to that tech, but I'm testing out the Volt 2 right now to see how it is and how I like it. UA seems to make really good products. So I might end up picking up a permanent one in a bit. Black Friday is around the corner, so I might do it around then. So if I sound different and all that stuff, please forgive me. I am testing out audio that should be improved over the next few weeks or so as a permanent replacement once I get the new tech. But I'm still picking away at Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster. That's kind of the thing where, like, you know, oh, I'm trying to listen to a podcast or catch up on YouTube or whatever. So I'm playing that. Because again, I'm not following the story. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm just picking away, trying to complete it. Everything, all the side quests, all the collectibles, all of that stuff. I'm trying to 100% that game the way that I did with Ghost of Tsushima earlier this year, so that I can get all the trophies for that game as well. I am playing a game that I cannot talk about. I received early access to a game that I cannot talk about. Probably can't talk about for a while, so there's no point in me continuing to talk about the game that I cannot talk about. You know, I fire up Black Ops 6 every now and then, mostly to play through zombies mode every now and then. I'm almost at the max level for the multiplayer rank in that game. I haven't done so yet, but I'm getting pretty close to top rank for that. I would like to go back and play a little more Balatro as well. I think that would be a good use of my time is to play a little bit more Balatro, but I have not done so. I have not done so yet. I would like to beat that game if at all possible, but again, it remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. And then what else? I mean, you know, I might pick up some games every now and then, especially in and around Black Friday. Look for some deals, some steals of deals, and all of that stuff. But really, like, next time we talk, I would like to have made significant progress in Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I would like to have a pretty good understanding of just how fucked up or not fucked up Stalker 2 is. And maybe I can play some Alan Wake 2 as well. That'll maybe peel me off of my time with Twin Peaks, so I can play something that is Twin Peaks-esque but is not, which is the Alan Wake 2 DLC that I have not gotten around to yet. That is going to do it for the podcast. I have been GnittWitt. You can find me over at my Linktree, linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. I am on Twitch. I am on TikTok. I am on Threads. I am on Instagram. I am on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. But check me out, linktree.com/GnittWitt. That'll just point you in all the directions that you need to go in. That is going to do for the podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, chatting it up, and we will see you all next week. Take it easy.